Hello, epic viewers from around the multiverse. Prepare to bask in unprecedented glory, because today I'm going to be commencing episode 1 of my job search for the perfect job. What does this series entail, you may ask? Without further ado, without further delay, without further procrastination, allow me to demystify the answer to that inquiry right here, right now. In this series, I'll be discussing my personal journey to find the perfect job. I'm trying to find a job characterized by impeccability. I'm trying to find a job that induces minimum stress and that offers a high salary. Does one exist? Of course. Will I find it right away? I do not know. The future is unforeseeable. The future is precarious. The future is unknown, to say the least. But let me just shed light about how the job search has been going thus far. The experience has been utterly appalling, to say the least. The opportunity cost of applying for jobs is unequivocally enormous, is lofty, is exorbitant, and is outrageously high. When you earmark time into filling out 20 to 40 page applications for jobs that pay a semi-decent salary, you're forgoing the opportunity to work. When you're on Indeed, when you're a Monster, when you're on Career Builder, when you're rendering your resume more attractive to employers, when you're applying for high-paying jobs, is going to deplete your finite, invaluable, sacrosanct time that you can otherwise be allocated towards building your own brand. So, I dread, I detest, I disdain filling out these 20 to 40 page applications when there's no guarantee I'll get the job at the end, but that's part of the process. They're trying to filter people out through the application process. And then after you fill out a 20 to 40 page application, you may have to take tests or complete modules. Even if you have a doctorate and an MBA, the grind is incessant, never ends. Now, if an employer calls you back, if they respond to your application, you may have to go on a minimum of 3 interviews before you acquire the job. So the process is long-winded and is protracted and prolonged, and there's unnecessary bureaucracy in the process. You should be able to circumvent the job application process in a perfect world, because if you have degrees, it shows that it denotes, I should say, that you're very likely eminently hardworking, and that you're diligent, and that you could stick with the onerous burden of finishing a 4-2 year program. What else? But I just dread filling out applications. I do get responses back from employers, and I have no idea about how much merit the job will have before I partake in doing the job, and I make arbitrary assumptions before I apply. Now, there's the job opportunities I've been offered, but I wasn't able to accept due to a move, so that's unfortunate. What else? You can't be reliant upon one employer. When you get a job, you should be fixated on searching for a better job. To an employer, you're capital livestock, you're expendable. So just bear that in mind. That should be indelible. And in spite of how well you perform, there's no guarantee that the employer will retain you as an employee, even if you decrease their costs per click by 75% on their marketing campaigns. is still not good enough from their perspective. This depends on the particular employer. Some will have unrealistic expectations that are insurmountable. Others will have realistic expectations that can be reached even if they are arduous to achieve. So I just dread filling out applications. I'm earmarking time out of my finite life into monotony and drudgery by succumbing to filling out applications. But this is what is needed to attain a high-paying salary. If you want a job that has merit, that does not involve rudimentary labor or menial tasks, you're going to have to spend a considerable amount of time sprucing up your resume, rendering befitting to the employer's requirements, and making sure that your job applications are impeccable. So I received offers, but the salaries are unattractive and I'm disinclined to accept them. I ideally want to work remotely, and I have to consider the cost of mileage as a result of depreciation being incurred on the car when driving to and from work. Furthermore, I need to consider the gas money necessary to facilitate transportation when driving to and from work. Without gas, you're going to have to push your car. But ideally, my perfect job would be one in which I can generate a livelihood by sleeping all day and by eating amid my eating days. So in other words, I love to earn a living just getting paid to eat and sleep. But if that option were off the table, which it seemingly is, then I guess I'll have to go into teaching business courses. However, getting a job as an adjunct is typically a ground-based job, so your opportunities are limited based on the location of your residence. You can't be pursuant of jobs that are non-remote, that you do not live near. And a commute to a university that's hours away can be brutal on the individual. You may have to drive 3 hours just to teach one course. If the university is located an hour and a half away, you have to drive to and from work. So working remotely is the utmost efficacious way to work. And I want a job in which I can work remotely doing. I want a job that I can quickly attain without having to complete more 20 to 40 page applications, without having to take more tests, without having to complete more modules. I just think that the application process should be less rigorous if you're highly credentialed. So if your credentials are maxed out, if you have a terminal degree, it should allow you to bypass, to circumvent the long-winded application process, because it's just a sheer and utter waste of time. But thus far the job search has been agonizing, just because it's mind-numbingly boring, and it's long-winded, and it takes away time from allowing me to grow my brands. So I lose money as I'm searching for a decent job, or the perfect job. I hope they found this video to be insightful and enthralling. Have a wonderful, marvelous day. Goodbye.